Welcome to the Present Fathers Podcast. This is the show that focuses on climbing the mountain of fatherhood together. Our mission is to help fathers be present by sharing valuable ideas and concepts that will equip men to be the best father possible. Being a good father is hard work, but it is so vitally important. We believe that dads matter, and that's why this podcast is for you. So gear up, dads, and get ready. It's time to start climbing.
All right, welcome. This is officially the first podcast of the year. It is 2023. I'm feeling old because it's almost a quarter of a way through this century now. But we are super excited. We got all dressed up for our new year, new me kind of, look. Yeah. Gentlemen, welcome to 2023. I'm excited for today's episode. I got to drag our host for tonight. We are going to talk about the New Year's resolution and how it's dead and what we're actually going to do instead. So without further ado, because we just want to get right to it, Dustin, take it away, brother.
All right. Merry Christmas, gentlemen, and Happy New Year. I hope it was a great celebration for you. My wife and I were in bed by about 11 o'clock. We didn't make it to midnight, which is my kind. Exactly. Yeah, for sure. So hopefully next year will be a little more exciting. So I had a little chat with Sahil Bloom. He is the author of the Curiosity Chronicles, and he put together something called the Personal Annual Review, and it just lit a fire under me. It's such a great idea. When I was a personal trainer, I saw so many New Year's resolutions that just died, because they weren't thought out. They were just, it'd be cool to lose weight. I'd love to be 20 pounds lighter. Okay, great. There was no passion behind it. There was no thought. There was no planning. And so it just didn't work that well. And so the Personal Annual Review is just a fantastic concept, and we'll go over all the concepts of it. We'll go over each of ours, and then the action plan that comes from it. So that's what I'm really excited about is, kind of some of the changes I want to make. So if you guys are good with it, I'll just jump right in and talk about the items that are part of the review.
Let's do it.
Awesome. So the first one is, what did I change my mind on? So if you're the kind of person who never changes their mind, if you spend an entire year and I was right. You're not growing, you're not learning, you're static, right? So what did I change my mind on? And there were quite a few. So a big one, I can thank John Michael for this, is what makes a leader, and does a home need a leader? And I think prior to having that discussion with him and really thinking about it, my thought was the home is fine. We just kind of do our own thing and it all, kind of works. Right. And I'm seeing more and more that when a home doesn't have personal leadership, it doesn't work. It tends to decay. And so a big, really important thing for me is to take on that leadership role and be the leader in my family that my wife and my son deserve. And I'm not that person right now. And I think I know how to become that person. I have you guys, I have good resources, and I'm really excited about that. That's a really important one for me. So huge change to my mind there. Another one, I've got this ego with exercise. If I'm not lifting 1,000 pounds every single time, it's a waste of time, right? It's, I have to, get after it. And that can work in your teens, in your 20s, maybe even in your 30s. I'm almost 40. And when I lift like that, it hurts, not in a good way. So I have to make sure that I use some low impact exercise to supplement those heavy, high impact exercises. And, it's not quite as intense. It's not as much fun viscerally initially, but the feeling afterwards is better. And the fact that I know that it's safe and I'm going to be able to lift my son up because I haven't jacked up my back makes it really valuable. So low impact is going to be key for me going forward, with some high impact stuff too. I still love doing box jumps and lifting heavy weight, but it can't be every single workout. There's got to be some lighter stuff. Attention is precious. So I love to wax philosophical. I love to, look how smart I am. I know these big words. Look at me, blah, 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 right? Waste of time. Nobody needs, by the very fact that we have who we are, within a few minutes of meeting each of the four of us, people know we're smart. It's, it's just part of it. We don't need to constantly be expressing that all the time. And so being as brief as possible and recognizing that people's attention is valuable is really key. And I think a big thing that helped me learn that was our view counts. When we do a long podcast, we talk a lot. We get, some views, not a ton. And we do shorts that are funny and entertaining, and we get thousands of views. So it's interesting to see that attention needs to be grabbed quickly. It's almost like an elevator speech. If you have 30 seconds with someone and you spend 30 seconds telling them about your name and where you're from, they're not going to care. You got to get to the point, and you got to be brief. And that is an essential element to capturing people's attention, as well as valuing their time. So brevity is going to be key here. And then finally, one of our first episodes, we talked about investments. That was right as the bull market was starting to screech to a halt. And so a great learning process for me, as well as a lot of people this year, is investments do go down. It is possible to lose money while you're investing. Not only is it possible, pretty much everybody lost money last year, unless you were doing something really unique. You did not have a great 2022 as far as investing. Everything went down.
Yep.
We can't say why it happened, but it definitely did happen. So
Let's go.
yeah, exactly. So be safe with investments. So guys, do you want to talk about the things you changed your mind on, or do you want me to jump into the next?
Yeah, I think let's go.
Let's do that.
Let's just go topic by topic, because there's 7 total, right? And let's at least get a
Perfect.
high level of each person, and then we can kind of come back and let's hit on things that like really stuck out or what we thought was like really compelling. And yeah, and I think ultimately we have to finish with talking about SMART goals again, right? Because they got to be. You can say you're going to do all these things, but if you don't put time bound goals and SMART goals,
Yeah,
it's a New Year's resolution. It's a hopeful wish that's not going to go anywhere. So
exactly.
let's just go clockwise. Brandon, why don't you go next on kind of what your thoughts were on what you changed your mind this year?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that has been hard for me is being upfront and truthful makes things easier, is what I've always thought. And I've come to realize over time, the more I get confident in my knowledge of myself, is that people don't like the truth if you don't present it in a special way sometimes. And so for me, one of the things I had to change was I had to think and carefully examine how I give people truth. So that was one thing that I kind of updated, so to speak. The other thing that was kind of something that completely changed in my mindset was that loyalty in a job will pay off. I'm finding that the more you search and you look elsewhere, the more that you can actually find something that's more worthwhile. And to me, that I always just thought that jobs that are perfect for me take years of experience. It takes certifications. It takes this and that, and that they're extremely hard to find. And man, I literally had the best dream job just fall in my lap, and it was because I was taking care of somebody else and adding value to their life. And so it really just kind of shattered my perception of what a job, getting a job is. So that was a huge thing for me. Other things was that you really can't change other people's viewpoints with logic and reason sometimes. And I think that's even more true with the society that we have today. So I just try to live by example and model instead of try to preach it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like that's a much more effective. So those were kind of the 3 main things that popped into my head. And I have to say, Dustin, that what you just said about attention being, precious. I mean, that's just another one that you just literally just instantaneously just changed my thought process on. So that's
I'm
awesome.
sorry, I zoned out. I wasn't paying attention. Would you? No, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
I see what you did there. You. Okay.
Very good. Justin, what about you? What did you change your mind on in 2022?
So obviously my life was changed the most. Newborn, moved into a new house, officially got to Louisiana. Just a lot of adaptation, but I had 3 words I kind of started the year with and finished with. Faith. Well, let's start in the faith first. Faith was just having faith that things are going to fall through or fall into place like they should. And man, I'll be danged if they didn't. My wife, and I looked for a house for 8, 9 months where we live here, and it was right before the market, started going nuts. I mean, as far as like interest rates and stuff like that. But thankfully, we got it right when they were at their lowest, which was a blessing.
Nice.
So we got probably the lowest rates they've seen in 30 years, but astronomical rate. We were happy, but it was impossible to find a house because everyone was buying one at that time. And especially with what my wife wanted and what we wanted as a couple, and for future family plans. So I was back in the car industry for a little bit because my old company wanted me to stay in Mississippi, which was not going to happen with a pregnant wife. And my wife being a physician, she wins the financial conversation 10 out of 10 times. I'm not an idiot. So I did what was most important. I came home, sucked it up, and just went after it for a little bit. Just put my head down, trying to figure out where I wanted to be. And like Brandon said, my dream job came across. I went after it because I've been in multiple jobs. I'm not afraid to go and try to find something new if I'm unhappy, and I was definitely unhappy. But yeah, so that all fell into place one by one. We got the house, the baby came, he's healthy. He got on an awesome sleep schedule. Just it seemed like everything was just domino effect in the most positive way possible. So we were very, very excited there. But it also it's a hard adaptation that men have to make as a father, because I was a very hands-on father. I still am, excuse me. But when I say that, I was the one that was up at 2 and 3 in the morning or 1 o'clock in the morning so that my wife could rest, because she was constantly pumping or feeding, and it was just, she was exhausted. She's not a morning person, so I tried to pick up the slack. But on the same time, I feel like I neglected her in some ways and paid more attention to the baby. So it kind of, having faith in certain things kind of helped me, but my perspective, that was one of the other words, changed on other things, and I had to kind of focus back in on what's most important. And she made, she's Cajun. She let me know.
Yep.
So
well, having a baby will definitely refocus your priorities pretty quickly. So
yeah,
or they should. If
yeah,
they don't,
yeah.
then-
But yeah, that was one of the other words, was perspective, and just trying to look at things in different lights and be appreciative. Gratitude, it's something that Gary Vee says all the time. I love his videos, and he just kind of struck home at the beginning of the year, and then middle of the year, when I got comfortable. Gratitude's definitely something on. But yeah,
to recap, what is it? Faith,
perspective,
gratitude, or
no, well, yeah, I guess you could say gratitude, but yeah, we'll move on to the next thing.
Okay.
I don't want to ramble.
well, I'm sure we'll come back and rehash each of these
we'll
topics.
Go back into the third word goes into one of the others, so we'll go
okay,
back to it.
Got it. So for me, I'm gonna do it the way that I loved how Dustin said it, like 2021 me versus 2022 me, and so I'm gonna kind of do it that way. So 2021 me, I work out a lot. I eat relatively healthy, so I can drink probably more than I should. 2022 me, this is really dangerous thinking. I need to cut back on that. So going into 2023 and being very, very serious, very intentional about just really reducing it, almost completely, pretty much. Also, it's the example I set, right? So I don't really want to be that way at home. I don't want to set that example for my daughter. And we'll talk about it more, but in all cases, it literally it's a detractor. There's no way that it's not a superfood or anything. So next I said, let's see. Oh, okay. So 2021 me, I stay healthy enough. I can miss a few workouts here and there. 2022 me, tied to the above. I need to make sure I'm working on my fitness more proactively, especially when I'm traveling for work. So if you're drinking or whatever, when you're traveling or whatever, now you're not going to work out because I had a couple beers. Now I'm not going to go hit the gym or whatever. So, I definitely felt the effects in 2022 of that mindset. So that needs to change. And then the last one, I'm sure we'll come back to this topic, and it's kind of a hot button issue, I would imagine, for a lot of people. 2021 me, I know porn is bad, but every now and then it isn't really hurting anything. 2022, there's nothing good about it. It's horrible for my marriage, among many other things, and I need to get accountability and do something about removing it from my life completely. So I'm sure we'll come back to this one, but that was probably the biggest change my mind on. I called up Brandon and was like, I need to be serious about this. I need to have an accountability partner and get it out of my life completely. So that's probably the biggest change my mind on.
And I'm proud of you, brother. I've kept up with it, and you've been perfect so far. So great job, man.
I don't know about that, but we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, number 2. Right.
Awesome.
Moving
Yeah.
on. Okay.
Number 2. Yeah. So, and that's all, I can share anything with my son, water, food, whatever. And it's great. The one thing I can't share with him is alcohol. So I feel bad because he's starting to get it. He says, well, how come you get special daddy juice that I can't have? And, it's this hard conversation. So it is really nice to cut the alcohol out and everyone's kind of drinking the same food, eating the same. It's a lot easier to get him excited about eating good food when there's not this mystery liquid that only daddy gets to have or mom, so it's definitely more of a family thing to cut that alcohol out at dinner. So I think that is a win there. Okay. So what created energy for me? What created those high energy states where I felt really good? Collaborative creation, content creation was my passion this year. And I think it'll continue to be, going into 2023, working with you guys, putting the podcast together, doing the shorts, getting a social media presence out there is absolutely firing me up. Just being I feel like I'm in the same room with you guys, being in the same presence with you has me so jacked. And I love what I do. I love my family. I love my work. But wow, there is something really special and exciting about creating and doing what we're doing together. So that's my place where I've really, found that I get a lot of great energy. So thank you guys.
Therapeutic,
for that.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
And for me, something that created energy for me was landing my dream job. And you'll know when you hit the right job where you're valued. Like they say that they give a water bottle example. So the water bottle example real quick is you can get it for 50 cents somewhere. You can get it for $1 somewhere else. But if you go to the ballpark, you're paying $8 a bottle. Well, I found the job that's paying me the $8 a bottle or treats me like I'm the $8 bottle. You know what I mean? So they're treating me with value and they're investing in me and trusting me and letting me just do my thing. I've literally walked in there and just every creative thing I can do, I'm just channeling and like I'm freely flowing all of my ideas and doing all these things and just improving and adding value and quality to everything I can try to touch. And it's been one of the most energizing things. And then on top of that, the podcast has been absolutely incredible doing that too, because I got 3 great people in my life that I can have great sessions of talks with about dadhood and fatherhood and work through that. So those are the 2 primary things that have really just energized me this year.
Awesome. Justin, what about you?
Oh man, same thing for me. Obviously the dream job, but it's not so much it is the job and the company is really the founding pillars on this because the company is just fantastic. I got an awesome team. I love the people I work with, like Ivan and a few of the other guys that are around me and girls. My boss is female and she's incredible. Absolutely adore her. But I'll have to say this. So why I'm energized is the other word, which I didn't get to, which was confidence. I've always had confidence in the things I do, but the problem is I'm always held back by other people or by restrictions in the job or, skill sets of a team I'm on, something that would kind of not let me just go at my own pace, my own schedule, or, kind of just go and do what I want to do. This job is not that. My old position was strictly orthopedic and sports medicine and endoscopy. So now I literally can sell to any type of doctor, any type of product. I have over 500,000 to sell. Literally the sky's the limit. I make my own schedule. There's no one micromanaging me. It is absolutely, absolutely my thing. I'm eating it up and I am beyond stoked and energized because I'm so passionate about what I do. I wake up every morning, I get my, caffeine, whether that be coffee or an energy drink, and I just go to town, man. I'm so much so that I just built this new office. My wife and I, she was the big key part to, finding this happy place for me. I needed a place that was my own. It's awesome. I'll share some deets on it later on, but it's my personal space and it's really kind of reinvigorated that energy. Just because at the end of the year, it's easy to get lazy. It's easy to, fall into that trap of, okay, I've had a week or 2 off, like I'll slowly get back into things. Now you got to hit the ground running, man. And especially with something you're passionate about, and you love. And so that's been for me, what's energized me most. And then On top of that, obviously the content creation, like you guys have said, this has been a passion project. And then just the people around me, y'all, my family, my wife. It's just been something it's been good to kind of keep pushing me. And I'll tell you what, my wife pushes me. She lets me know, hey, here's where you're at with us. Like, she's a great communicator, and she kind of keeps me on track at home, because I will tend to, especially now being so energized about this, I neglect some of the things like Dustin said at home, and I don't neglect my son. I love my son more than anything in this world, especially more than a career. But uh, the time I've spent with my wife afterwards, I've kind of neglected, and I've got to get better on that. So.
All right, for me, real quick, starting the podcast, doing all the content stuff, that's a lot of fun for me. You know, and I'm doing a lot of the editing, kind of the behind the scenes stuff with the software, and that's been a real cool, kind of just fun little hobby learning experience for me. Just kind of a cool little skill to have that, you know, I'm not that amazing at it or anything, but I won't call myself an editor, but it's a fun little thing to work on. But mostly for me, it was really making memories with my family. So we were fortunate enough to take some really good trips, both kind of big and small this year. And you know, that really has energized me a lot, is kind of just these quality trips where we're making memories. And it's not about a toy we got or a thing we have, but you know, we'll look back years from now, and you know, my daughter will be like, "Oh, I love going here or there." And I've really kind of, as I was writing through this, I really reaffirmed how special that is to me, to have those like quality moments together. So yeah, that was definitely the thing. I think we spent a good amount of time doing that this year, so I gave myself a pretty good grade on that aspect of actually spending the time on the things that energize me. So yeah, this was a good one for me. All right, Dustin, what's next?
Awesome. So we talked about what energizes us. Let's talk about what stole your energy, what made you feel exhausted. And this was really instructive for me. I found myself many times last year exhausted, tired, and distracted when I was with my son. And that's exactly not how I want to feel. So there was a lot of shame and almost disgust with my behavior and how I felt. Why do I feel this way? And I came to an important realization. Social media is not bad. You know, focusing on ideas that you want to get out there, again, not a bad thing, but it has to be done at the right time. And the temptation to check a quick response to a tweet, look at a message, you know, whatever it was that I was working on while I was with my son was really not great for our relationship. So absolutely essential for me to you know, to recognize that and to quarantine those different areas, you know, apart, so that when I'm with my son, I am really with my son. I'm a present father, right? That's the whole idea behind this podcast. Exactly. And I wasn't last year. I was very distracted, and distraction is exhausting. And so that was a really super important realization for me, and something that I'm excited to work on.
Yeah, and you put together a good about 50-second clip that we're gonna upload as a short in about a week. I just finished getting that done and edited today, and yeah, when you said that to us, I was just like, wow, this is a really good video, and definitely convicted me about, you know, being present, removing those distractions. So, Dustin, appreciate you so eloquently putting that together, because it's literally less than a minute, and it was just boom, 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 the whole thing. Everything you said was right on the money, and I think we all kind of need to be very intentional about the distractions, the little things, especially when you're with your kids and your spouse. Let's go Justin next. What do you think? What stole your energy this year? You're muted, brother. The mute button, boss.
Sorry. Yeah,
there you go.
That's definitely
we slayed
one.
it.
Exhaustion, man. This has been the most tired I've ever been in my life, just because I've been juggling, going back to school, going back to, you know, old habits and things. Like Dustin said, I kind of drank in excess this year, man, because the world around us and the lack of leadership we have in our country and just everything going on is just depressing, man. So I turned it all off, tuned it all out. Just try to focus on the family, focus on my life and my career and all the things I can. And that really kind of helped me re-energize and stay centralized. But yeah, just exhaustion, man. The first year of having a baby is, God, dude.
So easy, dude. What are you talking about?
Yeah. For all you dads out there
That's
who
why
are
we
about
have
to be a
one.
dad, let me go ahead and tell you, man, don't overburden yourself. I made the mistake. Oh, I got this. I feel 28. Yeah, well, guess right. Right now, I feel 38 for sure. Just because, man,
Shots
I
fired at
was.
Dustin.
I mean, I am 38, but I don't feel 38. I never have. But I've just been. I stay up till 12:30. I wake up at 4 or 5. Every day. 4 to 5 hours of sleep is not compatible with fatherhood. It's not compatible with careers. So I've had to kind of refocus my scheduling and work with my wife on, what do I need help on? What do you need help on? All right, as a team, how can we do this better? And just kind of, figuring out our home life, because it's been hard on her too. She's a physician full time. They have 26,000 plus active patients. So they see an astronomical amount of people every single day, and she comes home just plain exhausted, and it's like, well, who's cooking? So it's just hard, man. But to touch back on, like you guys said, alcohol is definitely one. There's nothing worse than waking up to a screaming kid at 3 a.m. and you're hungover. So advice to dads: don't drink if you have a kid.
Yeah. All right, Brandon, what about you?
Yeah, 3 quick things: COVID, people, and unmet goals. Beginning of the year, obviously, we dealt with a lot of COVID in our house and stuff. But one of the hardest things, when I read my Bible and I just feel like the Holy Spirit's just convicting me or talking to me about something. There's something that in the past few years I've just been really convicted about, was the quality of friends that I surrounded myself with. And I had to weed out some people in my life who were bad for me long term, that I loved dearly. And I still love them, but they just weren't good for me long term, spiritually, physically, anything, mentally. So I had to trust God on it. And I had to say, God, I'm going to weed these people out, but I need you to find me new friends. And, and one of the greatest things he did was, he brought this podcast together, and I got to be closer to you guys. But, he gave me a handful of really good Christian men here in town, and got a great small group now. And
awesome.
He opened so many doors for me. Once I was obedient, he opened up so many doors. Like my job stuff came through. I mean, just so many things fell into place. And it was like he was waiting for me to trust him on this. So he's like, I can't let you go through that door until you do that. So that was one. Unmet goals were mostly due to time constraints and some unrealistic expectations on my part. But I've learned to start small, like slay the small dragon, and build as I go. And so
you gotta level up.
Yeah. And then, of course, it's talking about boat anchors in the questions. And so, yeah, those two were definitely my anchors for sure. So
awesome. Let's see. So mine real quick on this one. The alcohol in excess, even if it wasn't like drinking to where you were just like, schnockered, you have just one too many. Now you're a little bit slower the next day. It detracts from your next workout. It's just bad. It drains from you. So yeah, I really like bourbon. I really like the taste of different ones. I'm not gonna lie. I really love craft beer, but it's bad for me. So it's gonna have to be a lot less often. Save it for special occasions or whatever, and then it's a treat, not a constant detractor. But then the other one was just getting overly frustrated, especially with like the politics and stuff. Last couple of years have just really, really probably gotten to me more than it should. And in reality, I can't control it. So I need to just, I can be disappointed by it or whatever, but kind of just not take it so seriously, let it go, and trust God on the things that I can't really change, and focus on what I actually can control with what He's given me, and do the most at that. So similar to what you had said, Brandon, there about, trusting Him more and, not letting other things kind of get in the way. So that was it for me on that one. Sorry, Dustin, number 4, I think.
All right. So boat anchors, or people who hold you down, problematic people. So for this, it's not your haters. It's not your annoying boss. It's not, the people who are really annoying. It's people who are your friends or your family who hold you down from your potential. They say, oh, don't try so hard. Don't shoot for that because it's never going to work, because they're looking out for you. So your true boat anchors are not people who dislike you. They're often, close friends and family. Sounds like, some people in Brandon's life that, that love him but just weren't good for him. And so, for me, it's more about the activity than the person, right? So my friends who I don't do productive things with, who we're going to get together and just complain about stuff. There's nothing productive or positive there. There's nothing, we drink too much together. A friend that you can't hang out with unless you're drinking, that's not a great sign, right? If every single time you get together with someone, you're having significant amounts of alcohol, that's not a person who's, there for your, positive growth. And so those friends and family in my life who I was able to recognize the activities that I did with them, that was a really enlightening thing for me to realize, okay, these are people that I love and care about, but they are holding me back and I do have to limit my time with them.
That's good. I like that. I'll go next on this one. Shake our order up a little bit. Boat anchors. So I first kind of cheated a little bit and said maybe not so much a who, but a what. And it kind of ties back to what you were saying about distractions, Dustin. Even good things can be a detractor from, time with my family and whatnot. So I love the idea of how you call it quarantining, right? Let's keep those set things in their set places. Leisure time, personal time has a place. You need to be able to decompress, but you really got me thinking about being a lot more intentional on that whole kind of concept of quarantining my hobbies or distractions. And then the other one that really kind of, I kind of already knew this, but then really had to kind of go through a real world scenario that kind of really solidified my thinking on this, and also was almost a validation that I have improved over the years, working on, dealing with difficult people or difficult relationships or ones that are, challenging to say the least. And really some just aren't worth the investment, right? Some relationships you have to keep very superficial because, you kind of get to a point where if you're going to go out of your way to try and improve the relationship and it's just a total one-way street and, the other person is just not really in a position where they're giving any signs that there's going to be any kind of reciprocation in terms of trying to improve or mend fences, so to speak, from the past. Don't be hateful or anything like that to the person, but kind of just keep it as a distant, they're not going to be your confidant or whatever, right? So that was something for me that I had struggled with a lot in the past, and this year had a point or a chance to kind of work through a real world scenario, and went to talk to my counselor and just, hey, like I'm okay, I'm doing okay, but I just want to run this by you and get your feedback. You're the professional, do you think I'm going about this right? And like, I'm really proud of you. You're like a whole different person from when when I first started work with you, 8 years ago, 9 years ago. So some relationships are just not worth the investment, and I guess I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. And I've already discussed my anchors a little bit, but one of the things that God really taught me this year through reading was Matthew 7:6 was do not cast pearls before swine. And it attests to what you're talking about perfectly, which is, you're offering something very valuable to someone who is unable to appreciate its value. And so I've had to learn to adjust like you have, to give what's valuable to people who appreciate the value, both in my work and in my life, and getting rid of the naysayers, the people that just they anchor your self-esteem lower, like there's a gap, you're growing and they're not. So they're staying down here. And when you're growing, you have to keep going back down to them. And
they're trying to pull you back because you're making them feel self-conscious about their lack of growth. Yeah.
And you're right back where you started.
Healthy relationships, they would be proud of you or, support you. Yeah. So,
and that's the tough thing.
It's hard too when it's family, if it's family or a really close, like lifelong friend. I mean, it's easy for us to talk about it. It's very difficult to, in a tactful way, in a productive way, kind of go through this process that we're describing, right? That's why it's, I'm in my mid-30s now and finally just feel like I did it right for once.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
Definitely. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's
No,
we can
I
probably
mean, I
circle back
agree.
to this one. I think
Yeah,
there's
for
probably a lot of
sure, for
discussion
sure.
to be had on this one.
Yeah, definitely.
All right,
Yeah.
Justin, I think that leaves you for number 4 now.
I'd say the boat anchor for me is probably me, man. Just getting in my own way on stuff. Not putting enough focus in multiple places, but too many at the same time, if that makes sense. I'm focusing on things that just grab my attention, and then I don't know, man, like with the mix of that and the exhaustion, it's kind of I've struggled with some depressive states. I've struggled with forgetfulness, and it's put a strain on my marriage sometimes, and it's put a strain on me because I'm not willing to stand up for myself like I used to. I've kind of lost my identity a little bit. I haven't held myself to the standards I used to physically. I don't know, man. It's been a rough month or two, to be honest. If I'm just being completely open with you guys, I've kind of had to take some self-reflection and figure some things out. And yeah, everything's perfect in certain aspects, but in others, it's really lacking, and it's hard to juggle so many things at once. And
Yeah.
I'm just tired, man. Just tired. Not getting in the gym and being what I could have been this year, a full year of me being like I used to be or what I was before my son and some other events in my life. I could have been something on that, but just things like gaming and hobbies, I haven't had any, so I can't really say. I've got one game I play on the phone, and it's caused some stressors with my wife, but I've tried to cut back on it and just realize that it's not important. But at the same time, that's my only outlet for some friends sometimes because I'm so busy with work and school and we've got friends here, but they're my wife's friends. I've got a few that are my own, but like I said, I kind of lost a little sense of my identity and just kind of retracted. Like you guys said, I was giving attention to people who just didn't deserve my attention, which I've never been that person, which was really weird for me. And that's kind of why I was so confused. But and it can be in the form of not just friends, it could be family, it could be coworkers, it could be whatever. And it's frustrating. Like I've noticed a few things. And when I did that self-reflection, like people who just, my wife and I pour our heart and soul to all the people we love, and some people just don't reciprocate that. So I've kind of just quit giving a damn, to be honest. That's the easiest way to put it. And I'm not going to go and sugarcoat things for them. I'm not going to go the extra mile for them anymore. And I know that's a crappy way to look at things, and that may be me anchoring myself some more, but I don't know, man. Trying to find some self-reflection, and I think me is my best answer.
Well, I appreciate the transparency and just being real with us. I will say that you're still in the thick of like having a newborn, so every little problem is just amplified. Because I mean, if you talk to Whitney, she'll tell you the worst 2 years of our marriage, and it's not because of our daughter. It's just that the extra stress and us kind of shooting ourselves in the foot because of it, dealing with it in all the wrong ways. Those are probably the 2 worst years of our marriage, if we're honest. So, I know exactly how you feel, and I know that doesn't necessarily make you feel better right now, but it will just like you're saying, you've already identified what you can do to kind of improve it for yourself. So just be intentional about it. Leverage us as accountability, and little by little, it will start to kind of improve how you're feeling about the overall situation. But I really kind of feel like I relate everything you just said. I feel like I literally lived through that to a T. So, yeah. And I guess to all the dads out there in a similar boat, I know it's cliche to say it, but time does like help a lot. Just be intentional about what you can do each day, and those little wins will pay off, so to speak.
Yeah, it's like my kid. Well, I was gonna say it's like my kid brother who gave me the advice right before my son was born. He said, "Look, man, the best thing you can do," and he told me this too after some other traumatic things I went through. He said, "Look, man, just keep putting one foot in front of the other," and that's what I did. And then he said the same thing with my son. He said, "Look, kind of what I said before. It's the same thing with time." He's like, every week gets a little better, and a little better, and a little better, and don't get me wrong. I was smitten from day one with my son, but it was very hard until we adapted and learned. And so, yeah, he was right. Absolutely. But every week, man, all I can say for you guys, it gets better. Just you gotta stop and breathe for a minute sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Eh, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to word it, but yeah, we'll come back to it. Let's come back to it.
Because I think this kind of spills over to the conversation we've been having like in our group about margin and communication about like you needing certain things. Because I think they're all kind of interconnected, especially on this topic of feeling overwhelmed. So I think this would be a really good one for us to kind of finish up at the end, because it kind of ties in overall to this, to all the points, really, not just the boat anchors. But let's just remind us, if any of us forget, remind us to come back to that, when we get through all 7 of these. So let's move on to number 5.
Perfect. Okay. So number 5, what did I not do because of fear? What held me back? And I could say you guys really helped me break through a hurdle that I didn't even realize I had, a mental hurdle, which is that I'm just a guy. So if someone is a little bit famous or has, a background, they're not going to listen to me. My ideas aren't valuable to them. I just don't have enough of a platform or an audience. And wow, was I completely wrong about that? Just because someone has a little bit of a platform or an audience does not mean that they are, too good to talk to. And so seeing you guys just reach out to people, I said, hey, I really think Dr. Harley's great. His book is amazing. I'd love to talk to him. So Brandon said, let's make that happen. And well, we almost did. I was stuck on a flight, but it really opened up my eyes to, we are, men in the prime of our powers. We have great ideas. We're worth talking to. And just because we don't have a giant audience yet, it does not mean that people who have valuable ideas. Yeah, exactly. People who have valuable ideas and have a large platform and audience won't talk to us. And I'm a very successful professional. I have a great social life. People respect me in person, but I had this weird hang up that that's not the case with social media, that there's this walled garden that exists there. And so whether it was fear or just not understanding, kind of how the world works, you guys really helped me bust through that mental hurdle. And I'm not afraid to, talk to people anymore. And I am amazed how many of them will say, that's a really good idea. Thanks for telling me that. So thank you for that. You guys have been awesome. Yeah.
Cool. So we're already having, immediate impacts from just starting our podcast here. It's awesome. Let's go, Justin. You're next. We'll go around counterclockwise this time.
Sure. So, what did I not do because of fear? That's like kind of hard one, just because I didn't really have any fears this year. I guess you could kind of focus that with my son, just fear for his health and safety. I guess you could say I didn't have the peace of mind I usually have, if that makes sense. Keep it short and sweet. Just because I fear for his life daily. That's just how it is as a new father. I don't care how tough, rough, and rugged you are. You can be the baddest son bee on the planet. You can have no feelings and a ice cold heart, But when you have a kid, that changes 99.9% of the time, and you now fear for someone else's life instead of your own. So I would say just like my peace of mind, just keep it short and sweet, not go too much into it, because I didn't really have any other fears. Like I said, the confidence I have with work and everything else, I feel great about. I'm not afraid. Like Dustin said, these influencers and people we come after, we've got a few coming on soon. I'm actually speaking to one of them right now, so I'm sorry if I'm looking away, but I'm not afraid to ask anybody to come on. I'm not too good and I'm not too proud at the same time. We're just all humans. We're all living on the same little rock in the middle of nowhere. So we got to love each other and we got to, support each other. And I think that's something a lot of people need to realize, especially in today's society. Yeah. So
I got a little tangent on that. When I was a young lieutenant deployed, we had like some bigwig, general come in or whatever. And I was getting all like antsy or whatever. And one of my sergeants, somebody's like, "What's your problem, sir?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, he's like the general." He's like, he puts his pants on just like us, one leg at a time. And I was like, dang, all right, that's a good point. Like, he's just a dude too, right? He's just been doing this longer. So yeah. Anyway, All right, Brandon, you're next.
So a lot of people don't know this, but I prayed intensely about changing jobs because I went from an IT career to a finance-based career, which I have no prior experience of finance whatsoever. I had to trust that what God had prepared me for, which He prepared me perfectly for it, was that the logic and everything else that I had learned in the past with my IT stuff would transfer over to the finance field, and it did. But I almost didn't pursue that job. That, like we said earlier, the economy was shaky, man, and I was in a bulletproof government job with great pay. It had great health benefits, all these things. Had a 25-year retirement, but I just knew that after I prayed and prayed and prayed, I just felt like God's will for me was to take the risk. And being an analytical person and a high functioning anxiety person, I didn't want to, but I just had to take that leap of faith. So I almost didn't take the job because of fear. And man, that's it just could have been catastrophic. So take the risk, guys. That's all I can recommend.
Awesome. For me, it comes to finances. Talking with you guys, especially at that early episode where you're talking about finances, I felt like I knew virtually nothing. And Dustin and Brandon are just like, bam, 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 this. And I'm like, okay, I need to educate myself or get someone involved who knows what they're talking about. So I've already taken the steps. Brandon put me in touch with the professionals that he works with, and we're going to go down that path. My wife and I have a meeting tomorrow with them to kind of get everything set up and get going. And it's not, I mean, for me, that's just, I just have never really known a ton about it. And I'm pretty proficient in a lot of areas of my life, and I just don't really feel like I'm really know what I'm doing when it comes to, especially investing, for the future. And so I guess it's not necessarily fear. It's almost like a lack of expertise just makes me not want to commit my money one way or the other. Because I don't really know what I'm doing. It's almost like I don't know which direction to push the boulder type of thing. So, I guess that has kind of held me back for quite a while now. And finally, here we are now, kind of start of 2023. We're gonna get going on that for real. Getting some pros involved since I'm obviously not. So that'll be good. I'm looking forward to doing this again in a year and seeing how I feel about it then.
That Dogecoin ain't treating you right, huh?
Huh? The Dogecoin? Yeah, I did not buy any Dogecoin. I own zero crypto, actually, because, again, I just don't know what I'm doing with any of that. So I guess, Dustin, I should take your Cliff Notes and put a couple shekels here and there. But
yeah, that's right. Anyway. Well, it's skin in the game. If you have $100 worth of something, you're going to watch it, you're going to learn about it. Whereas if you don't own any, it's just theoretical, you don't care. So it's
good point.
It can be a lot of fun, definitely.
Yeah. I just feel like I'd be throwing darts at the wall, and I don't know where the target is. So that's kind of what's held me back, I think. But
yeah,
we're doing something about it now.
There you go. I love it.
I'm going to outsource it.
Yeah. No, you got a great professional, and I'm sure Brandon will be happy to talk to you about, kind of where some of your money is and how it's working. So I'm excited for you. That'll be a great move.
Yeah. So. All right. Number 6, Dustin, take it away.
So biggest hits for the year was putting this podcast together. This has been so exciting, so great. Doing the content creation. I've done a ton of writing on Medium and Twitter. That's right. Woohoo! The Friends of Fathers. And, it goes back to that fear thing. I spent probably 10 years. I was on social media quite a bit, but I never produced. I was purely a lurker. Right. I would look at what everyone else did, and I had these ideas. That sounds really cool. I'd like to respond to them and see what they think, but they're not going to talk to me, so I'm not going to bother. And now, I realize actually I can talk to just about anybody, and a lot of people ignore me. It's 50-50, but a lot of times I get a fun response and I learn something. And, it's really cool to have those conversations with people that I didn't think were approachable. So doing the content creation, doing the writing, doing the podcasting, huge hit for me. It's been so much fun. In the process, I've prioritized some of that stuff over my own health. I've not worked out as much. My diet hasn't been a priority. It's tough. You only have so much creative energy, in the day. And I feel like what little I have left after spending time with my son, my wife, and in work, I put into the podcast and all that. And so that's definitely taken away from a source of great, I would call it kinesthetic creativity, which was exercising, which was playing team sports.
Yeah.
I really do miss team sports. I play quite a bit of pickleball now with some fellow dads. We have a great time with it.
Dude, that's awesome.
It's America's fastest growing sport.
Dude, it's a great game.
It's so good. Yeah. If there's any other pickleball dads
Literally.
out there listening, it's a blast. So
Yeah.
I miss that. And so, for next year, definitely want to get back into some team sports and want to get back to prioritizing my health because, if your body isn't fed, your brain can't be fed. So I've got to take care of this body. I only get one.
Yeah. Got the one you got. Brandon, you're next.
Sure. Greatest hits, definitely the job. My family, like the harmony in my house is perfect now. We work so hard to love and communicate with each other in a healthy manner. And my children are finally starting to model some of those things that my wife and I have been modeling with each other.
Awesome.
They're working hard. I just see them just growing incrementally, man. And it's really exciting. And one of the other things I did this year was I restored my self-esteem. When I cut loose the people that were kind of the anchors in my life, I realized that I had to believe in myself. And one of the ways I did that was anchoring myself in how Christ views me. So that was really important for me. And then one of the other great hits, obviously besides the podcast, was I felt like I was consistently a light to others that needed it. I didn't dim my light to be socially accepted. And even when it was sometimes a hard thing to do, I was still trying to be a light for somebody. So I was proud of that. But some of my misses, again, just like Dustin, gym goals were missed. Just picking up soccer coaching and doing that, letting fear drive me in some things. I didn't pursue some ideas that I had, but other than that, that's pretty much it for me. So.
I'll go next, and then Justin will close with you on this topic. I'll go real quick. So hits, I got 3. 1, same company, switched role within my company. It's just a lot better suited to who I am and what kind of drives me. Really happy with it. So no complaints there. That was a big hit for me. Number 2, creating this podcast, and just it's not just the podcast itself, but going through these materials, the books that we've selected to dive into and to kind of force myself to get better, to know what I'm talking about before each episode. That's been really, really fun for me. Not just fun, but also really valuable. I've learned some really incredible things that I don't think I ever would have discovered if we weren't pushing each other for this podcast. So that was number 2. And then I kind of hit on it earlier, but number 3, we had some really awesome family trips this year. I'm really glad we did it. Some of them are a little bit of expensive, and it's kind of like, oh, should we spend the money on it? And I mean, now looking back on it, 100% glad we did, because we'll look back on it a decade from now and still remember that time. So, I didn't buy things. We got trips. That's what we did this year. So, I'm really happy with that. That was a big hit. And of course, my daughter had a blast on like every single one of those. So, misses physical appearance. I didn't like gain a ton of weight or anything. I don't look. Compared to 2019, 2020, and 2021, I was in like some of the best shape I've ever been in my life, and I just came off that peak. And it was kind of the things that too much alcohol, just not being intentional enough. So really, that was number 1. That's I see the difference, and so that's frustrating for me to kind of feel like I lost it a little bit. Too much time on distractions. Got a whole lot of them, guitar, gaming, all that other stuff. I travel a lot for work. I've got the National Guard stuff to do. So I need to make sure that I'm cutting it or making sure that I'm more present with my family outside of all these other distractions. And then we've all hit it a million times now is the drinking. Just really cutting it back. I plan to go at least the next 3 months, just none whatsoever, just to kind of have a hard reset on, starting over and kind of a little bit of a cleanse, and then just kind of keeping it from there to, if we go out to a special dinner or something, then yeah, sure, I'll get a glass of wine or whatever and just kind of keep it to that. That's my plan. Justin, hits and misses.
Hits, definitely this podcast. Well, I would say definitely work. Landed some pretty awesome accounts. I've enjoyed everything, and getting to work with family friends has been fantastic. But most of all, being a father, that's been the absolute joy of my life, and I feel like I'm pretty good at it. My wife compliments it at least, so that makes me feel good. Her opinion matters. Misses my marriage. I can focus on some, wants and needs my wife says, and I try to, but sometimes we miss the mark and we learn from the failures, and you just got to keep growing with that individual. And it's hard, marriage is strained when you have a kid. I don't care how good it is. And if someone says it's not, they're lying. But it's a miss in my book just because there were some opportunities I missed is my point. And I've learned from those, and my wife and I've had the conversations, the hard ones we need to have. And now the good ones are starting to come back. But that's definitely the miss. And then, like I said, the physical prowess or workout schedule, that was a definite miss. So yeah, that's it.
All right, Dustin, I think we are ready for our 7th and final topic in the annual review. Oh, you're on the mute boss got you to it now.
I
Two
muted
down.
myself.
2 down. Half of us
That's right.
have fallen to the mute boss.
So what did I learn? I'm not indestructible. My body when I was 20 was basically indestructible. I could do a lot of stupid things and get away with it. Didn't hurt that bad. And that's just not the case anymore. So big learning thing for me was, injuries do happen and they are not fun. When you have a 2-year-old that you have to run right after and they sense weakness. He's like, oh, daddy doesn't feel good. I'm gonna be a big pain in the butt. So that's really key for me is to avoid injury. And the more you learn about exercise and how to train your body, the easier it is to avoid injuries. And so that's a real key for me is injury avoidance is my top priority with exercise. The other big one that was kind of a painful thing to learn is when you're just lurking on social media, it's easier to stay away from it. No big deal. You're not connected to anybody. You're just reading stuff. No big deal. By really engaging pretty intensely in all these ways, to try to grow a little bit of profile, I allowed myself to get addicted to social media. It's like a reflex. I'm with my son and I'm looking at him and then I'm looking and there's a notification I have to go look at, and so I'm looking at my phone. So that's about as close to an addiction, as anything can be. So that was a really important thing for me to learn was that's how my brain reacted to this whole process. It can happen to a 70-year-old man. It can happen to a kid. It's a very addictive thing. And that was important for me to learn that, it can happen to anybody. So, I'll talk to you guys because we'll, kind of trial by fire on some of this stuff. What the best way to keep the social media in the background when it's only used at a certain period of time so that it's being used to your benefit without taking over and starting to, come in and harm my relationships with my family.
It's good. Justin, why don't you go next? Things you
Sure. Just learning that, for a marriage to work, marriage is work. It's been a great year and a hard year at the same time. My wife and I have had so many milestones and so many good things and so many blessings, but at the same time, like, we've had some spats as well. And, I don't mean to keep harping on our beating a dead horse, but I learned that I think the most important skill I need to master is my reaction to things. Don't react emotionally. It's very, very hard. I don't know. This is one of my more serious casts. I know I'm being a little more somber today, and I'm sorry, but you got to learn through the growth. You got to. No, I mean it's you just got to grow. You got to learn the growth patterns, and you got to learn how hard it is to grow. And growing with somebody's a hard concept. And like I said, my wife's a Cajun. She's fiery, man. She lets me know, and I'm stubborn, and I'll let her have it back. And I need to just not react emotionally and disarm that. And it's hard sometimes because of the crap I've been through previously with some other folks. I'll just leave it at that. It was very toxic. Certain things trigger that emotion from me and that frustration or those angers. I don't have those feelings 99.9% of the time, but there's a specific individual who pulled that side of me out and brought some insecurities, brought some bad, horrible habits I had to work on, like talking over people because I was trying to be heard. And she kept me from feeling that way with certain things and aspects in relationships. And some other things I learned in therapy, like uh, trying not to overshadow someone else's words or their comments, or not being empathetic, and that was something that I struggled with for a long time. So I still find myself struggling a little bit today with those things, and then with my wife reigniting some of those feelings with her tone or her anger. Yeah, I'll be frank, it pisses me off, and it's hard to deal with anger because I'm not getting the workout. I don't have an outlet. I'm not running 25, 20 miles a week like I used to. And things have changed, man. And with the change comes the pain. So it's been different, man. But at least I still have my beard, unlike you, George. And I did learn about PPTPs. So there's that. Having a boy, invest in one. That's definitely
Yeah.
something I learned this year, because Old Faithful will work.
I do miss the facial hair already. Thanks for
I know
reminding
you
me.
do. That's why I said it.
I feel like I'm 12 again.
And Justin, it's so awesome that you mentioned emotional reactivity, because that's actually one of the primary lessons that I really learned to hammer home this year. And the ways that I did that was I practiced mindfulness. I continued to develop and sharpen my emotional intelligence, which is like the ability to recognize and understand my own emotions when I'm losing them, or I'm starting to feel like they're getting increased. I'm able to manage them better. Like you said, communicating effectively, especially when you feel overwhelmed. When you feel overwhelmed, communicating effectively is so vital, because you have to communicate your needs and feelings in a clear way, and sometimes in an assertive way, because it can help you maintain your composure. A lot of dads just fire off the cuff, and that's why I always, like, one of the things I live by is a 5-second rule. So it's like, man, I want to just say something and just verbal vomit, as I call it. But if I take 5 seconds to just think about what I'm feeling, and I express it calmly, and I take a breath, and I don't do it out of anger or quickness, then I find that the conversation is healthier, defenses don't go up, that kind of thing. So communicating effectively was a really big lesson. Practicing self-care was another big lesson this year, especially as I was growing my self-esteem again. Self-care it's just a really important thing that I think a lot of dads kind of shirk as not necessary, but it's absolutely necessary, because you got to keep things in your life balanced. If they're not balanced, something's suffering, and usually it's self-care. So taking time to be mindful, to read a book, to take a walk, to go to the gym. I mean, eat some good food by yourself, just quietly. I mean, whatever, just self-care. It's really important. It's essential for managing our emotions. So yeah, that's some of the things I learned, but yeah, it's really important, especially for your emotional reactivity. So.
Good. Let's see. Mine, I think one of the first ones I wrote down was how important it is modeling positive male qualities to my daughter. Those books by Dr. Meg Meeker that I read were extremely eye-opening and kind of scary, because it's like literally everything that I do is essentially cementing in her mind what she needs to look for in a future husband. And that's it's a pretty large responsibility when you like really sit there. And so this book is just breaking it down. I was like, man, I've been doing some things not so good, and it's like, oh, there's time to adjust. But wow, that was some real eye-opening. Not that I didn't take my role seriously before, but she really doesn't mince her words in those books, and she really makes it very clear about, look, I've done this for, I think she said like 40 years or something like that. I've studied a lot of kids, and the roles that fathers or lack of fathers play in their development is all these problems. And I was like, oh, okay, all right. need to hone that in. So that was number one. Financial planning was number two. So thank you to you guys for kind of, inadvertently lighting the fire under me to like, okay, I got to be more serious about this. The next one was just taking a pause or removing myself from arguments or heated moments really pays serious dividends. In the heat of the moment, being right never improves the situation. It always makes it worse, even if you are 100% right. So just allowing time for people to cool off, tactfully standing your ground if you're being mistreated, but in a way that also diffuses the situation, and giving truth with love. So that was a big one for me also. And then the last one is just being very intentional about even the little things. So I think most of us are probably very intentional about all the big things, right? Work, school, whatever else, all the things that like are big ticket items. But we've talked about it here: distraction with notifications on a phone when you're with your family, or not missing a workout or something little like that. When I'm tired, I can just make it up tomorrow or something. Those little misses really stack up by the end of the year. And when you look at where we're at now, kind of looking back, it's like, ooh, some of those things really piled up a little too much. So keeping that balance. And then I do want to talk into this because I think we all talked about fitness or our appearance and everything. I think I had done intermittent fasting for a long time, up into this year, and then just kind of with all the travel and everything, I just stopped doing it. I'm convinced it's a superpower. Like I've started back on it for the last 3 weeks, and already the results are insane. I mean, it's amazing how fast it's made a difference. So I'd like to talk about that more when we finish all these here. So Dustin, I'll put the ball back in your court now. This is your idea. You're the one who found this annual review. We've gone through the 7 topics. Where do you want to take it from here? Do you want to rehash on any of the topics we covered? Is there something you heard that you want to dive into? But ball's in your court, man.
So yeah, I put 4 action items together based on the annual review. I'd like to do a lightning round because we talked about brevity and being quick, and I was even despite that, I was still kind of rambling a little bit. So
we're an hour and 6 minutes in. So
yeah, exactly. So lightning round, I'll be quick about it, and then you guys just give me some quick feedback, and then we'll move on. Personal leadership. So one quick thing that I can do that I think makes me a leader and that I think my wife will appreciate. I'll do a daily scan of the house and consciously look for 3 things that I can improve on. So right now, what I do, or what I have done over the past couple of years, is I sit on the couch and I go, oh, how can I help? And my wife goes, I don't know. There's a million things you can do. Do you really need me to tell you? And that's not leadership. That's, I'm not a hired servant. Right. I have to make those decisions for myself. That's so me, because ultimately I don't care. Yeah, I wish I did, but I don't care if the house is clean. I really don't care if the laundry's done, and I should, and that's horrible, but I just don't. So I have to take ownership of it and make myself care. And by being the one who makes the decision instead of just being the employee in the household, I think I can make myself care more. And I think my wife will appreciate that, and I think I will appreciate it, and I think that's a win for everybody. So when I get home, do a scan. What are 3 things that need to be done that I can help with the most? And I'm going to do that every day, and I'm going to make it happen. And along with that, another Sahil Bloom special here: never miss 2 consecutive days. So, for example, if you do a workout 3 days in a row and then you miss a day, no big deal, right? You haven't really broken the habit. If you miss 2 consecutive days, the habit's pretty much broken and you're done, right? So you have to make sure you don't miss 2 consecutive days. So for that habit, I'm going to find those 3 things, get them done, help out. I'm going to make sure to tell her as well. A lot of times I'll do stuff at home, don't tell her, and she goes, you didn't do anything. And then I'm like, well, yeah, I did this and that. Oh, I didn't notice. Okay. So take ownership of it, do it, let her know that I did it, and take that leadership element. So what do you guys think?
I love that. The stepping up and stopping the following is a really tough thing to do, because like you said, it's so habitual and ingrained. And man, there's a lot of qualities in leadership that we can all improve on. But as dads, I think one of the biggest leadership skills that we always have to improve on is communication. I keep going back to it, but communication. A good leader is able to clearly and effectively communicate their vision, their actions. And I think that when you do that and you're focused on improving yourself, everything else kind of improves just by default. And John Michael talked about that a lot, actually, in our previous podcast, and did an excellent job of explaining that. So yeah, I agree. I think the fact that you're stepping up and working hard to improve, man, It's fantastic because like they say, you can't hit a target if you're not shooting at it. You know what I mean? And if you don't know what your target is, and so you know both, and yeah, man, it's exciting. I'm excited for you.
I'm gonna cut in real quick on the find three things. I'm gonna guess that I need to. I'm getting the subtle hint from my wife that I probably need to start doing that a little bit better myself, because in all caps she said Dustin for the win with lots of exclamation points. So I think that one might be a good one. So I think maybe she's trying to imply that I maybe do that one myself. So we'll add that one to the list for me. And I do like the never miss 2 workout days. Sometimes just time runs out, right? The crap happens, kid gets sick, dog has to go to the vet, whatever. Your car breaks down. All right.
Well, sorry. So more specifically, never miss 2 days of whatever the activity, the habit you want to make.
Oh, any
that
habit,
could be a
not just
workout. Yeah.
My bad.
But specifically here, if I go a week and I find my 3 things, I do great. And then I miss a day and then I get right back on it. That's awesome. But if I do it for 4 days and then I stop for a couple days, the habit's broken. And
All right,
I basically
so like
just had a cute little,
Gotcha. Okay. So whatever positive habit that needs to be in place, don't miss 2 days in a row. Okay. But yes, I think the sentiment's still the same, where like stuff is going to happen. Sometimes you miss the day, not because you were being lazy. It's life is crazy sometimes. So
yeah.
Things get out of control. All right. I like both of them. I actually have no critique of either. Obviously I'm definitely going to do the find 3 things.
Awesome. Yeah,
So,
let's do it. I haven't started doing that yet, so don't give me too many pats on the back just yet, because I actually have to get it done.
It's a good idea. Now we can put it into action together, and we'll hold each other accountable. So today's the 4th. We're going to start on the 5th.
Yeah. Awesome.
Good deal.
We're going to get it started alive.
Yeah.
Justin, to you.
Dustin literally hit the nail on the head with what my wife and I've been having conversations about. She wholeheartedly would agree with Dustin, which would drive me nuts, but thanks, Dustin. Setting me up for failure, baby. You'll be a pallbearer so you can let me down one last time when I die. But
can we hold you on the coffin and dance with the
yeah. Gosh. As long as you have some of the African guys come,
That's I was talking about that meme.
Yeah.
I forget the music.
Yeah, I can't remember it either. But anyways, so she's like, well, you need to do this, you need to do this. I'm like, well, you gave me a honey-do list a mile long. You expect me to remember all this? And she's like, well, you're supposed to write it down. And I'm like, I ain't got time to write it down. Like, I'm trying to build a business. I'm doing this. But I can be better and just not give excuses. And, it is what it is at the end of the day. So I do need to get better and just find stuff, be proactive. I think that's one of the best words that we need to concentrate on as men and as fathers, is being proactive. If you stay ahead of the curve, eventually they'll start to realize. And then you can have time for hobbies like this or, other stuff. So,
well, I got.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say I got a lightning challenge for you guys. Never use the response, "I'll do it in a minute" this year, because a lot of guys are super, super guilty of this. Wife asks for help. He's distracted with something and says, "I'll do it in a minute, honey." Like they want to do it on their time frame, and usually that time frame's an hour from them.
That's my favorite thing to say. That's going to be so hard.
That's why it's a good challenge. But yeah.
Oh, all right, I'm writing that down.
Well, I think we need to do SMART goals, right? Set expectations here.
There you go. Okay. Fair.
All right, Brandon. I got a lightning one for you then. If you want to come out with the hardball stuff, absolutely zero sugar that is not natural for the next 3 months.
I can do that.
With that.
I've already started. I'm 3 days in, so I can do it. Might have to stab myself a couple times.
3 out of 90. Have fun.
I can do it.
No sneaking it. I know you.
I'm gonna do my best.
I was gonna say, I think the distinguishing point that Dustin was making about the find 3 things isn't that it's necessarily chores or cleaning up the house. It's that if we abdicate, like, well, how can I help next? You're basically making your wife parent you in addition to the other kids or kid in the house. So just like grab a few things, clean it up. But I think by quantifying it like this, Dustin, because we're very task-oriented beings, this will help me be a lot more like, okay, did I do the 3 things today? Okay, I did. sounds stupid. It probably sounds ridiculous to women. Like, well, there's more than 3 things. Why do you need to write it down or whatever? I'm like, well, because we drag our knuckles. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I like the idea of it'll help me be very intentional because it's like a box that I have to take out and do, right? And because it's quantified, it will happen. Whereas if it's this nebulous thing of, well, just don't ask her what you can help with, just help. That's not really like specific. So yeah.
Yeah. And most importantly, it was my idea and my agency, and that's going to make me feel like a leader. And I think it's going to help my wife, appreciate it as well. And I have to communicate that with her as well. Another thing I learned this year, my wife is not a mind reader. When I have certain feelings and needs and I don't communicate those to her, she may not know that. And so, these kinds of actions, her love language is acts of service. That's her favorite thing. And my least favorite thing to do is acts of service. So, if I can meet her in the middle and make those happen, that's going to be a huge, huge positive. So number 2, screen time limits to avoid checking my phone with my son. So a couple ideas of how I think I'm going to make this work. I don't think it makes sense for me to have no, access to any kind of messages or anything for 6 to 8 hours a day. I don't think that's fair to my friends, to people, to be totally unreachable for large portions of the day. Not every day, at least. I think it's great to take time away, completely from any kind of digital. It's, called the digital Sabbath, where you basically, spend 1 day a week or once a month where you have no access to any kind of internet or communication. I would love to do that at some point, but as far as every day, it doesn't make sense.
Does that include like TV and stuff too, or?
Yeah.
So just like go outside, do whatever. Just no
Full Amish.
No screens.
Well, you can take a car. That
there
kind of. Yeah, the idea is no. Yeah. There's no screens. There's no. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So how I think this is going to work, and again, let me know if you think this is, because it's easy to get around it. If I have a watch on where I can at least get messages, then if something important happens that I need to, respond to a friend, in theory, I wouldn't get messages from Instagram, from Twitter, from any of that kind of, the stuff that really distracts me. I would only be able to see messages and calls, from kind of emergency type situations. And then if it's really important or something that needs to be addressed, I can run over to my phone, which is in another room, and access it that way. And I don't think the temptation will be too strong to where I won't be able to avoid it. But that's the idea, is when I'm with my son, my only access to technology or media will be on my watch, which is pretty limited as far as how much I can actually look at. So what do you guys think?
That's great. I love that.
I was just about to say that right there. That's how you can get your messages and not get distracted.
Yeah, I don't have a wearable or anything. I'm not going to go buy how much do those watches cost? Probably a lot. I think I just need to maybe, for me, that won't work for me. I think I need to maybe put it on a calendar, put it in my Outlook. That's as silly as it may be. Block my time. Hey, phone down, phone off, or whatever. No, I don't know.
Actually, to touch
if it's
on that
urgent
point,
enough, they'll call, right? I don't need to look at the texts or emails. If it's bad enough, they call. So if it's a phone call, pick it up. Then I don't know. Maybe that's for me, but
I like it.
Well,
I don't like wearables. I hate the idea. Maybe it's just never appealed to me. That's just me personally. I know for a lot of people it's really a thing. I hate the concept. I don't want yet another thing I have to keep up with that buzzes on me and notifies me. I like wear my tactical army watch that does GPS and all that stuff, and it's essentially dumb because it does nothing with my phone. But that's just me, and I'm kind of old school when it comes to my watch, I guess. But
yeah, well, I think the difference in us too is George and I are or Dustin, excuse me. Dustin still is. I'm not anymore, but we were in operating rooms, and you can't have distractions in operating rooms.
Yeah.
You have specific
That's
tasks
fair.
and goals,
That's
and
fair.
so I would look at my watch to make sure it wasn't an important text or phone call from somebody, and so it became a habit.
Got it.
And that's kind of why I like the wearables, and then obviously all the perks like GPS and yada yada yada. But it's nice because there's not a lot of response you can do, especially if you're spending time with your family, because you're not going to look at your watch and go, "Hey, text so and so, ha ha ha, bro."
Kit, I need you, buddy.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. You're going to be like, I'll get back to it later, whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
And you're going to put it off. So that's the reason I was going to suggest it, is because it's so easy to just be like, okay, cool, got the gist. There's not an emergency. Don't need
maybe another another idea could be like put it in a Faraday cage a little bit, right? Like put it in a old school, like those, you know, the old like pencil boxes we used to have, the plastic ones. Put it in those, so if it rings, you'll hear it, but you're not like able to easily get to it, and just kind of like put it up on the counter or whatever. So you're not.
There
like,
are really clever.
so it's
I don't know
not
if you've
in
seen
your
this.
hand. You know what I mean?
So there's lock boxes where you can set for 4 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours, and no matter what, they won't unlock. There's no code. Once it goes in, whatever it's your phone, whatever it is, you seal it. And if you hit 4 hours, you can't get to your phone for another 4 hours.
That's
So
a recipe for disaster, brother. You're gonna have an emergency. The wife.
I know, yeah.
For me personally, if there's an urgent enough call, I gotta take it. That's the nature of both my jobs. So
Yeah,
unfortunately, that's just the world I live in. So yeah, I think I have. But you're making me think about methods I need to in place to almost enforce that I'm not doing this with my daughter. And I did it today at lunch, and I'm like looking at myself and kicking myself right now. I was working on something for the podcast, and like it could have waited. I can't believe I was, you know what I mean? I'm like upset with myself right now about it, but
well, I appreciate that you prioritized us over your daughter. That means a lot. So thanks.
I'm sure she'll thank me for that, you know, when she's older.
Well, scheduling time's a big thing. That's something my wife was talking about recently. It's a joint calendar, and if you're smart about the calendar, you can put time for yourself or time for activities or things like that, where it's like, hey, this is a time where, you know, it's me or you or whoever, and we none of us should be bothered, or unless it's, you know, an emergency, and then you have that time carved out, and you gotta worry about things as much.
Yeah, I think the hard part about it is a lot of, you know, when your kids get a little bit older and they can talk and they kind of are their own person now, a lot of your interaction becomes very spontaneous. Oh, hey, Dad, can we go ride the scooter? Well, I wasn't really planning on it. I don't really want to, but you know, I mean, like so I think that's where I'm struggling with how to input like a fail-safe or what, not, that's not the right word. Basically a built-in like accountability to remove the distraction of phone alerts or whatever, to just go do that thing with her, because you know, she'll act like she wants to go out for like 7 hours, and we go out there for like 15 minutes, and she's like, okay, I'm bored, let's go back inside or whatever, or go to that other thing, and it's like, okay, but I don't need to be on my phone when we're doing that. So I don't know. I'm honestly at a loss for like what a good method would be. Maybe just leave it in the house. I don't know. It's close enough. If something's really bad, you know, my wife can come tell me the phone's ringing.
That's a good point. I mean, the most important people are the family, so it doesn't really matter about everyone else. They can understand that you're in family time, and if there's a true emergency, like you said, the phone's going to go off enough that Whitney's going to be like, oh crap, what's going on?
Yeah.
You know, so.
I'll need to do some thinking on this one, but
So as a secondary, and Brandon, I know you had a couple ideas you want to get to, so I'll be quick. Screen time limits. I don't know how you do it on the Android, but on the iPhone, you can limit each individual app to however much time you want to do. So I posted a little graphic where I set TikTok to 1 minute, you know, kind of as a joke. And once 1 minute hits, the phone shuts it off and says, no more TikTok for you today. You know, Twitter, 15, 20 minutes tops. And then again, it stops. YouTube, all of these. I'm playing with the numbers as to kind of what the right limits are, because I bump up against those limits, and I'm like, oh, I was about to respond or post something, but I said I'm not going to do it, so I'm done. You know, it's out. So, you know, 20 minutes is a little tough with what I'm trying to do. But that at least then you can say, okay, well, I can still respond to messages if I need to, but I'm already hit a half an hour of Pokemon Go today. I'm done catching Charmanders and Pikachus. You know, this is ridiculous. Let's get rid of this, you know, kind of thing. So that's another option there, as well as a secondary way of, you know, preventing that attention from being taken.
I got to interrupt and ask, are you really walking around parks still playing Pokemon Go?
No, that's ridiculous. Who would ever?
Not parks, ORs.
You're doing I guess it's when you're trapped in a giant building, I guess that you got to find something to do. That's funny.
That's awesome.
It came out like 2016.
Yeah, I think I actually started playing it the first day. My wife and I both still play together. It's a super fun activity we do together.
That's fun.
We trade our Pokemans together, and I say, "Hey, I need your Charmander."
If you're doing it with her, that's fun.
It's whatever.
I actually remember that in Atlanta. We would be taking dogs out.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I remember.
Exactly.
Don't think I forgot. I play Age of Z on the phone. It's a strategy game, and it's like all about war and tactics. It's fun. It's a mindless thing I do every now and again, but I've kind of cut back on it myself.
I like the idea of limits. Again, I think it's hard for me though. I think because every week looks very different for me. I don't have a very set schedule in terms of like how many hours I'll be working or how many hours I'll be traveling, and a lot of times it's very last minute too. Like, so I don't know. I'll need to play with that. But even then, right, I could be listening to a book on Audible versus Twitter or something. You know, what I mean? I could do something more productive, even if it is still on the phone when I'm, on the move or whatever. But
sure. Yeah. So I had a few things that I'm doing this year that I found were really important, and one of them plays on what we were just talking about with technology, which is I'm actually reading my Bible from my actual Bible, like an actual printed copy, not from my phone, because I would find myself sometimes being distracted by social media or other notifications popping up. And it's like, no, I need to have intimate, intentional time in the Word by myself and do it, whether it's in early morning when my kids are asleep or late at night. But I have to do that on a more consistent basis. So that's what one of my goals this year. Another one is have more emotional conversations and connections with both my children and my wife every day. So like a couple strategies that would help with that. For example, I walk in the house with a smile, no matter how bad my day's been. I go in with a smile. I take a couple breaths before I go in. And usually my days are great, so I don't have to worry about that. But even on the hard days, I go in, I'm happy and I'm excited to be home. I show that to my children. I come in, the first thing I do is I kiss and hug their mom, and I ask her how her day was. I intentionally listen, and then I go straight over there with excitement. I pick up both my kids and give them like a long, deep hug to let them know that I've missed them, that I care for them, and that, just fill up their love cup, as I call it. So that's one thing I'm doing this year. The other thing that I'm doing with my kids is I'm not going to dim their light. Anytime we emotionally react to our children, or we yell at them, or we lose our patience with them, if it's something that's innocent and genuine that they were trying to express, you've dimmed their light. And I think of instances of that all the time, and it just breaks my heart. So one of the things that I've set for myself is to never dim their light, to foster growing their light. And then the other thing that's always worked for me, keeping me happy, even in times of anxiety and stress, is taking a daily inventory of the things that I'm grateful for. Creating an attitude of gratitude, as they say. The more you think on those things, the more you rewire your brain to think positively and to count your blessings instead of, my cup's half full. So I've been really trying to continuously move my brain into that direction. So those are the main things that I'm trying to challenge myself to do, that I'm really holding in a high priority for sure. But yeah, sitting down with my wife every night and having more intimate conversations, even if it's just me listening and her talking, because I know that that's one of my wife's higher needs. So for me, I'm definitely going to start practicing that more. I do it a lot now, but I'd like to do it more intentionally. So,
all right. I was kind of realizing we're going through all these things that we say we're going to do, and we're kind of dangerously drifting into the realm of New Year's resolutions that are they sound great, but we haven't really quantified anything. So let's use some SMART goals, and let's each pick one that we just did and put some specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound metrics to them. And that way we can kind of hold each other accountable to it. So anyone want to go first?
Yeah. So let's talk about that personal leadership I am going to get that done at least once a day is the goal. To find 3 items that I can get done in under 5 minutes. These aren't, major house
Right,
problems,
right. It's just
so
the clutter, something that will it takes a little bit off her plate.
Yep, exactly. So that's going to happen every day. Again, I'm not going to miss. If I miss a day, I'm not going to beat myself up. I'll know that I did it, and I'll be really intentional at making sure that second day I get it done. So I'm going to stay on it and get this. Try to shoot for every day. If I lapse, make sure 2 days don't go. As far as achievable, I think this is very doable. I think 15, to 20 minutes of little stuff to help my wife is very doable. I think that's achievable. If I was saying 30 minutes to an hour, I don't think I would do it. So I'm going to start, with that 15 minutes, 3 little things, definitely achievable. Very measurable. It's 3 things. I'm going to write them so good. I'm kidding, but that's the goal, is to make sure that I communicate this very clearly to my wife. This is what's been done. I made it happen. How else can I help? But these are the 3 things that I found most relevant that we're able to get done. As far as specific, these are going to be things that I'm going to do at home. Indoors. These aren't going to be mowing the lawn. This isn't getting outdoor activities and chores done. This is specifically stuff around the house. Little chores, little naggy stuff, dishes, cleaning, clothes, any of that kind of thing. So specific to just that.
Okay.
And I think that's going to be what I'm going to get done.
I like it. I like this one a lot too. So I'm going to adopt it exactly as you described. So to recap, it's 3 things around the house. It'll take you 15 to 20 minutes every day that you're home. I'm not home every day, but it is achievable, and it's relevant, obviously, because it's contributing to your household, and I think all wives would appreciate that. So I'll steal that one. I'll go next. Let's do the alcohol one. So at a minimum, so specific is 0 alcohol. That's also the measure, is not going to have any for a period of 3 months. So we're going on a trip in March as a family, so I'll probably break that there and have 1 or 2 when we go out to dinner with our friends or something. So that'll be the first week of March, I think. So that's almost exactly 3 months. So that trip is my goal line there. I think it's achievable. Honestly, I don't really need it. It's not like I have a compulsion to have it. It's just kind of I've bought it, and so then it's there, and then I have some, and so I'm just not going to buy it at the store, and then problem solved. Relevant, I think it's massively relevant, obviously, health-wise, but also example-wise, among many other things, and then time-bound. So for now, it's the 3 months, but it's a little bit of an experience for me. So I'm going to kind of think through this process afterwards, and then evaluate how to kind of stay on a good track that's a repeatable habit, not just a one-time feat of strength or something.
George, can I jump in real quick and say how I might modify it for myself?
Sure.
I think doing a 3 solid months of no alcohol would be, I would miss out on some things where I do want to be able to drink. I've got my wife's birthday and mine coming up, and a couple things where there are specific days that I'd like to be able to have some alcohol. And so I think if I were to say only on, once a month, a very rare occasion, I'm still going to have that alcohol, that would be a huge win for me. Because, for me, the issue is I'm a little stressed or a little tired. So I have a drink here or there, and it wasn't a premeditated decision.
Mm-hmm.
So if I look at my 3 months and say, I'm picking these 5 days out of those 3 months that I'm going to allow myself to drink, and the other days I'm not going to do it. And then if I have a friend and a boat anchor who says, we got to get some drinks, man, I miss you, let's do this, I'm going to tell him, man, I love you, I'll do some other activity with you. I've got a really important goal to me, and that's not to drink. And then if that person tells me, wow, that's super lame, I don't want to hang out with you, that's really instructive to me. Wow, really, you don't want to hang out unless we're drinking? Okay, now I just learned something. So I think that is how I could make that achievable for me, is to have specific days that I look at that I can say, I'm going to allow myself to break this because these are special occasions.
That's I think that's fair, and it's insightful, or not insightful, but realistic with yourself about the fact that you have some big events. I'm trying to rack my brain. I don't think we have any real big birthdays or anything like that I would really want to until that trip. So we're going to go to Colorado. I want to go to, like, they've got all kinds of microbrews. That's why, like, for me, that would be, yeah, I don't need to have alcohol on Valentine's Day, though. I mean, I don't, for me, that's not really what we do on Valentine's Day anyway. So for me personally, I think I'm good with just none, but I think in your situation, that's also realistic that you have some big events, and I don't think that's the goal isn't to be completely completely abstain from it whatsoever. It's just to kind of keep it in a small place where it is a special thing on special occasions. That's really what I want to get to for myself. So I rambled on that one a lot. Justin, Brandon, you guys
I'll go.
have one?
To pick up, I'm actually gonna pick both your I guess, what do you want to call them since they're not resolutions? Your
Plans of
your
action
daily
out
smart
coming out of our
goals.
annual review.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do the 3 items for the wife daily. Probably move it up to 4, honestly, if I'm smart. I'm definitely gonna stop drinking, and I already have. I haven't had a drop since New Year's. Don't plan on it until national sales meeting in Orlando in February, and then I'm literally flying back on the 7th and flying out the 8th to Mexico to a friend's wedding with Ainsley. So
Nice.
I will be drinking at those events, but after that, I will make up for it by adding another month to it. So I'm not going to drink.
Got an echo.
Yeah, the phone picked up YouTube. It was weird. Anyways, I'm going to do those, and then I'm actually going to add one for myself. I'm going to try to get 1, if not 2 workouts a day. Try to get back on track.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you miss a day, no big deal, but don't miss 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then another obtainable thing that kind of Brandon kind of stole my thunder there. I was going to say I don't talk to God enough, and I feel like I need it. It's not so much the Bible. I'm not as big on the Bible and everything else, and I know that's a horrible thing to say. Whatever, judge me how you want, but I'm more about having that relationship. And I'll reread the Bible and I'll read verses and things on my own time. But right now, feasibly for me, the best time is just talking to him. I spend 5 minutes, building that relationship and having those conversations daily. So those are my 4 obtainable SMART goals.
I like it. Brandon?
Yeah, so I don't drink, obviously. That's one thing I don't have to worry about, so that's good. Chocolate, definitely something I need to, or I've cut back on. But I think my SMART main goal for this year is to read through the entire physical copy of the Bible, and I'm going to do that by doing 30 minutes a day every day. There's actually, in the Bible app, there's a 365 plan, and I'm going to use that as my guide, and I'm going to go to my physical instead of my phone, so that I'm not distracted and I can have intimate time with the Word. So I think that just kind of fixes and teaches everything else, just becomes better because of it. So that's that's my plan.
All right, good. Now we're having real plans of action and no New Year's resolutions here because they're dead. They don't work. Right, it's the classic joke or meme about how January is the worst month to be in the gym because it's where all the resolutioners are there for the 3 weeks and they all quit by February. So, so I guess let me just recap, kind of high level. Dustin, love that you found this. I love the suggestion. This is the best way we could start this new year together on this podcast. Going through it, answering the questions. I had to, having to think about what you even want to address because they're broad questions. Was really, really helpful. It was very therapeutic. Helped me realign, what my priorities really are. I think everyone would kind of agree to that. So, Dustin, good on you for getting this one set up. I know it is getting late for you on the East Coast. We all talked about our fitness. I kind of wanted to just kind of do that as another little lightning round, not necessarily the specific things, but why it's so important, and kind of just have some open discussion on that one. Because I think it's something that people, wherever you are in your life, whatever level of fitness you may be, the principles are important for health, not to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but just to be healthy. And for me, like what was really, I was initially thinking, man, I want to get back to like how I looked, right? My physical appearance from the last couple years was a lot better than it is now. And I was like, I want to get back to that. That was where I started. But then we watched this show with Chris Hemsworth called Limitless, and it was actually a really good show. I didn't think I was going to like it, seeing the previews and stuff. I watched it with my wife, and there's he admitted, or not admitted, but he did this testing and discovered that he's at very high risk of getting very early onset Alzheimer's, like 10x the average person or something like that. Very high risk. So he was like, wow, I need to talk to experts about all these different things I can do in my life to reduce my chances and be as healthy as I can be, not physically fit necessarily, but just health in general, because he wants to have as many memories with his kids as possible. And that really got me thinking. I'm like, man, I can't just keep falling on the excuse of like, oh, well, I look pretty fit, so I can get away with all these bad habits. And going through some of those episodes where they go into nutrition and fasting and all these different concepts, I was like, man, I really need to, this is something that's worth the effort, right? I want to be on this earth with my daughter as long as possible and my wife as long as possible. And yeah, I can probably get away with it, drinking too much or whatever, but there's a lot of, 20 years from now that may kill me quick. So it just got me thinking, and I'll leave it here. What kind of, outside of just wanting to look better, what were the driving factors for you guys? Because we all listed it somewhere in our list here of what we need to do better in terms of health. So what was kind of the impetus for that, outside of just like, I want to look better in the mirror? And if that's it, I guess that's fine too. But
yeah, for me, it's definitely the kids and the wife. Just being here for them, to take care of them, and I mean, it's mostly altruistic, but it's also to feel better, function better, to be more present by being healthier. Like you guys were saying, and so that's just the number one priority for me. Like, I know how important it is for me to be here for my kids, for their development up until they're adults. So it's kind of my number one prayer and my number one goal. So,
yeah, I'm greedy. I want to live forever. And so I just want to be here, when they have kids, get married, yada, yada, yada. And then on top of that, I want to continue living and seeing what this world can achieve and accomplish, and just, enjoy as much life as I possibly can. But for me, it's primarily mental health. I've never felt better in my life than when I'm working out. I can be going through the worst times, and I have gone through the worst times in my life working out, and I felt $1 million afterwards. And then, the pride you feel in yourself when you start to see changes in your body that are positive. It's intoxicating. It's addictive. So that's something I want to get back.
All right. And Dustin, last but not least.
I often have some kind of low-grade chronic pain, inflammation that's really distracting, and that takes you away from your family. When your neck hurts, you're a little buggy, and you're doing this and that, and you're not focused. You can't get into a flow state. And the research is really interesting. It takes 15 minutes to get back into a flow state. So if you're reading on your tablet, about your Bible, and you get a text message, you respond to the message, just takes a second. It takes you a whole 15 minutes to get back into that state of flow and creativity that you had before. And pain can do the same thing. If you notice, little headache, little neck pain, little twinge in your back, you may never get into a flow state because you're constantly interrupted and distracted by these little pain points. So for me, I want to get out of pain completely. I want to reduce my inflammation levels. I think I can do it by doing some fasting like you do, George. I'm taking cold showers every morning. It's kind of a nightmare, but it also gets me ready to go for the day, and it's incredibly healthy. The research is fantastic behind it. So that's a big one that's been a really positive change for me. Is
you live in Florida, so you can step outside.
That's yeah, exactly. It's not so bad.
It's so easy.
Yeah. So that's the big one for me for health is to be pain free. That's going to really improve my quality of life and make me a better father.
Yeah, that kind of, I had a very similar motivation several years ago, and that's why I use those crazy bands. I mean, I don't touch weights, and it wasn't because I don't like it. I loved it. I mean, when you're done lifting weights, you feel like you're you feel way bigger than you are, right? You just feel good. There's something primal about it. Yeah, the pump. I mean, it's just primal. Baby. But afterwards, every joint in my body just hurt excessively bad. I was like, I can't live. I'm 28 at the time, I think. I can't go the rest of my life like this. And so, yeah, I mean, your point, I think point number one for you, Dustin, I think was, you can't work out that hard. It's not realistic. You can still be very healthy and proactive in your fitness without having to like make it some, special forces training regimen or something. It can be mobility work, hip flexor work or something. It doesn't sound exciting, but it's probably good for you. But anyway, I think we're about time for Dustin here. I know it's pretty late, so why don't we go ahead and just closing thoughts, guys. Let's finish with what was your favorite thing brought out tonight from someone else, and then we'll close on that. So we'll just open it up to the floor, and then we'll go around.
I'll go first. Definitely what Dustin said about proactiveness. That's what I need to get better on. I think if I did that, my wife would be extremely happy.
Let's do this, brother. Let's do it.
I think we're all going to do that one, right? So that's a 4-way accountability. And the wives who are going to watch this and be like, you said.
The wives watch this?
I mean, Whitney watches live. That's why you're getting the feedback. Anyway.
That's awesome.
What was said tonight that really stuck out for me? I'm still thinking on which was my favorite one. If someone else wants to jump in.
Yeah, sure. Mine was when Dustin spoke of attention being almost an invaluable currency, and that was really eye-opening for me. I loved it, so it's really good. It's definitely something I'll be marinating on for the next few days. So,
yeah, I hate to just repeat what you said, but I was trying to pick something different.
I can go real quick if you want to come back.
Go for it.
Yeah. I think, Justin, when you said that you sometimes see yourself as your own boat anchor, that was really powerful. That's a tough thing to say because I know I feel that way sometimes. It's often I'll go throughout the day and I've met 50 people and I go, God, I was the worst person of all the people I met. I was the boat anchor. Oh my God. Am I the baddie? That definitely happens where we have days like that. And so recognizing that and saying, okay, I can be a better person. I can be more energetic. I can be more positive is really a valuable thing to say. So thank you for that. That was a good learning tool.
Sorry, guys. I'll go with how you really just highlighted the need to be proactive on seemingly meaningless things to us. But they are important to your spouse. And, I think we talk a lot of big, grandiose things that we're going to improve. And that one sounds very small, but I think that one, it's those little things that have the profound differences between like just an okay marriage and a really good one. So I just, the simplicity and profoundness of just like, I'm going to get 3 things. I'm just going to do them. I think for me, kind of that whole concept, not just that one specific use case, but I'm thinking about other ways that I can force myself to make that a time-bound specific thing I can do as a habit because I know it will be appreciated by my spouse. So I'll be thinking on that one more for sure.
That actually made me think of a phrase I heard one time. It doesn't take a boulder to take a house of cards down. All it takes is a pebble.
Yeah.
And it's usually the small things that do the most damage. You don't realize because it can cause other structures to fold,
That's right. All righty. This has been great. Dustin, again, thank you so much for finding this idea of doing an annual review. I loved it. I think we should do this as a tradition now. Let's do this every year. Hopefully our podcast goes on for a long, long, long time. We can do a new one every year. We've already got it saved in our notes now. I think I speak for everyone when I say that it was insightful, both to reflect on what you did well and then what you can improve on. And unlike a frivolous New Year's resolution, we held ourselves accountable to some smart goals. And one more time for the viewers, SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So if you make a New Year's resolution and you have not done any of those 5 things at the bottom, it's probably not going to pan out for you. Unless you're just like the most disciplined, self-motivated person who's ever walked the planet. You're most likely going to be one of those New Year's resolutioners at the gym. You're there for January, and then you're gone by February. So let's not do that. Let's be better dads. Let's be specific in our goals and planning. Let's be smart about it. No pun intended. And Happy New Year to everyone. Welcome to 2023. We are really excited to move into this new year. And as we keep exploring new topics and hopefully having some exciting guests with provocative things to consider as dads, this will be our best year yet. So Happy New Year. Good night. And have a great rest of the week, everyone.
See you guys.
Take care. I gotta
All right.
swap
Don't
over
forget
here
to
and
like
get the
and
video
subscribe,
going.
baby.
Yeah. Like and subscribe. Please support the channel.
Share.
And we appreciate all those of you who are our currently followers. All right. Take care.
Thanks for watching this episode of the Present Fathers Podcast. Please be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you can know when we go live next. Also be sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and our Discord channel. It's our desire to grow this fathership together and support dads out there. If you think this channel would be beneficial to someone you know, please share it with them. We look forward to seeing you in the next episode.